Friends, adventurers, and well-wishers, I bid thee welcome back to the Sage's Archives. My name is Sage, and I'm here to help you out with a little bit more because the secrets of the world have whispered unto me that you wish to try being a gatherer in addition to your crafting. And we're going to help you along that journey today. Who is we, you might ask? Well, it's me and everyone's favorite little friend, Positive Friend. Alright, so how do we begin with being a crafter? Well, like with all things, we're going to have to start at the very beginning. In order to become a botanist, first come talk to this little Lalafell found at this location, here in Gridania. She'll teach you everything you need to know about gathering plants, herbs, and trees. If you come talk to this tall, muscular young lady, she'll teach you everything you need to know about mining for gathering sands and dusts and various kinds of waters and salts and, of course, the raw minerals that you need to make ingots. Now, it's important to note right here that this video is not going to contain any information regarding fishing. Because while botany and mining are effectively identical to each other in terms of how they function, fishing not only has its own little mini-game, I guess you would call it, associated with actually fishing itself, but its secondary method of gathering is also different from mining and botany. So it will be its own video at a later date, but for right now, we're just going to talk about mining and botany. Cool? Cool. So the first two things we're going to look at when we're talking about gathering are our base stats. That's both your gathering stat, revolutionary I know, and your perception stat. Gathering increases the rate at which items are actually gathered when you are gathering, so this directly impacts your ability to gather the item to begin with. Perception affects item yield as well as the size of fish when you are fishing or spearfishing. Again, that's not a topic for this particular video. So both of these will affect how often and how frequently you're able to gather an item, and we're going to talk about how those are impacted very shortly. But first, let's go over the various abilities that you need to be aware of for when you are actually doing your gathering to begin with. So first, when we're talking about abilities for gathering for both miner and for botany, well, the first thing we're going to be looking at is the abilities that increase your chance of gathering an item. These are extremely important, especially in your earlier levels, but become less important as you gain abilities and gain stats with your gatherers to begin with. The abilities Sharp Vision 2, and Sharp Vision 3 all increase your chance at gathering an item throughout your entire gathering attempt. These can be increased by up to 5, 15, and 50%, and they do technically stack, so do feel free to use them, but the GP cost does go up with each successive use. Clear Vision only increases your next gathering attempt, but it does do it at 15% and at only 50 GP instead of the 100 that you would have with Sharp Vision 3. Increasing the yield of the actual gathering falls under abilities like Mountaineer's Gift 2, and Bountiful Yield 1 and 2. Unless you are gathering gems or crystals or shards, in which case you're looking at the 12's Bounty and the Giving Land. The 12's Bounty gives you a flat increase to your points by 3, whereas the Giving Land gives a random increase. Before we go and do an example of some gathering, I first want you to take a look at this gathering log. The gathering log can be found in your logs menu, and it will let you see everything that you are capable of gathering and the levels at which you can gather them. You can also look at items that you need to gather by looking at your crafting log. In either situation, you can right-click the material that you wish to gather and click Search for Item by Gathering Method. This will give you this little side piece here, and when you left-click it, this will show you the map and the area in which the item can be gathered. Right-clicking any item from the crafting menu will also bring you directly to the gathering log for you to find your items there instead. In this instance, I'm just going to go find us some pyrite. Once you are actually on a map and are prepared to go gathering, keep note of certain abilities such as Sneak, which allows you to remain completely undetectable by any enemy who is up to 4 levels higher than your own. The abilities Prospect and Triangulate, both of which allow you to find mature trees, lush vegetation, or mining deposits, depending on whether you are a miner or a botanist. And abilities like Lay of the Land and Arbor's Call, which allow you to find the nearest or the highest level gathering spot within the range of the ability. The abilities Truth of the Mountains and Truth of the Forest allow you to find unspoiled or legendary or clouded deposits, plants, and trees, which allow you to gather more rare materials for more high-level crafting. Once you are in range of the item you are trying to gather, make use of Lay of the Land, or Lay of the Land 2, if you're a miner, in order to find the nearest nodes to you. So if you look here, you can see these are all the items that can be gathered from this particular mining spot. There's also an item here that happens to be hidden. The ability Luck of the Mountaineers allows you to uncover hidden items if it is not already revealed. When we are looking at gathering an item, the first thing we're going to look at is the integrity as well as the location effect. Certain locations, when gathering from them, will have an additional effect which may or may not be triggered depending on whether or not you have the base stats required for this to be activated. These can be drawn from your gathering skill, your perception skill, or even your maximum gathering points. Provided that you meet the minimum requirements, if a location ability is active, you will gain additions to your gathering. This can come in the form of additional integrity, additional gathering chance, or an additional chance to gather extra items. The chance to gather extra items is called Gatherer's Boon, and it can be increased by Mountaineer's Gift 1 and Mountaineer's Gift 2, or can be increased further using Nald'thal's Tidings. Nald'thal's Tidings increases the amount of extra items you get from your Gatherer's Boon by 1. Normally, it gives you an extra 1, but Nald'thal's Tidings can bring it up to 2, so it's possible to gain 3 from every single gathering attempt. This can also be increased further by use of King's Yield or King's Yield 2, which increase the number that you gain when gathering by 1 or 2 respectively, or by using Bountiful Yield or Bountiful Yield 2, which increases the number gained by 1 or by 1, 2, or 3 respectively. Bountiful Yield 1 automatically upgrades into Bountiful Yield 2 at level 68. Let's take a look at the actual mining itself. If I just click Pyrite, we will gain 2 chunks of Pyrite here. 100% chance to gain 1 and a 60% chance to gain an additional 1, but this reduces the integrity by 1 as well. The integrity can be restored by a small amount using Solid Reasoning gained at level 25. This gives you an extra use of your mining, but it does cost 300 gathering points. In this instance, we did also see that I gained a Eureka Moment. A Eureka Moment is gained at level 90, and you have a 50% chance when using Solid Reasoning to regain that extra bonus. What is the Eureka Moment? This allows you to use the ability Wise to the World, which allows you to restore an additional integrity on your mining spot at the cost of nothing. Absolutely free. Just like that. Now, because we have a 60% chance of gaining a second item here, we can use Mountaineer's Gift and Mountaineer's Gift 2 to guarantee that we'll gain an additional item. And we can use Nald'thal's Tidings to increase that by an extra 1. So now every gathering of Pyrite is guaranteed to yield 3 Pyrite instead of only 1. All of the abilities I have named so far have a botanist equivalent of them. All of the abilities, even if the name might be slightly different, do the exact same thing between mining and botany. No matter what you're trying to gather, miners and botaners have the exact same loadout, just like all the different crafters. So keep all that in mind. If you notice here, my gathering points are rather low. I know it's a little hard to see with my overlay, but I only have 321 gathering points as of this particular gathering attempt. However, this does also give us an example of the locational effect when mining. This can also happen when you are doing botany. In this instance, because my maximum gathering points equal to or greater than 589, we gain an additional gathering attempt, also known as +1 integrity. In this instance, however, I'm going to be gathering crystals instead of any of the minerals. So when we're doing this, we're going to first activate the 12's bounty. This will increase the yield of the fire crystals by 3, bringing us up to 4. If I had the ability to do so, I would now use the Giving Land to increase it by a random amount, but oh no, I don't have any. So what do? We can actually quit out of that and go into our inventory and use an item called the High Cordial if you have any on hand. This increases your current gathering points by 400. Extremely useful, but it does have a rather long cooldown. So now when we go back into the gathering attempt, we can see that this node has not changed because we didn't make any changes to it. We do not have the bonus from the 12's bounty because we left the gathering attempt, but we can reactivate it, and now we have it back. And because we have the gathering points for it, we can make use of the Giving Land. Now, every attempt, you will see that we have 4+? Every attempt at gathering fire crystals at this spot will yield a random extra amount. I also want you to take note of the fact that every gathering attempt that we made there also gave us some of our gathering points back. This is very important because when you are low on gathering point and you're waiting for your High Cordial to be off cooldown, you can still recover some of your gathering points by going to nearby spots and gathering again. Just like leveling your crafters, you might be wondering how you're going to level your miners or your botanists, or even your fishers. But I have some good news for you. And the good news is that much in the same way that you can level your crafters, you can also level your gatherers. With a twist! If you are doing your crafting at the same time as your gathering, you can actually make use of your gatherers to collect the materials you need for your crafting, and in doing so, gain bonus levels on your gatherers at the same time. And this is extremely helpful in general, but it's only one of the methods. If you talk to your Grand Company's personnel officer, you can undertake provisioning missions to turn in specific gathered items in a specific quantity to earn not only some bonus seals, but a large chunk of extra experience. If you talk to your Grand Company's quartermaster, using a few seals, you can purchase Company-issued Survival Manuals or Company-issued Survival Manual 2 to gain increased experience for a period, similar to how rested experience works from all gathering attempts. You can also obtain higher level versions of these manuals by obtaining collectibles and turning them in for scripts. Yes, just like crafters, gatherers can also do collectibles, but we're going to touch on that later because the gatherers' collectibles are a little bit different than the crafters. Just like your crafters as well, you can talk to any levy mate to take on a specific kind of levy quest called Fieldcraft Levies. And just like your crafting quests, these can allow you to gain a fairly large chunk of extra experience and some extra money while just running around and gathering materials. These are especially useful pre-50, but much like your other levy quests, there will be higher level levies to take on, though you're probably going to be better off doing collectibles instead, but you do you. Levy quests are a great source of early money and do tend to get you a little bit of extra shards and crystals for your crafting, so it's kind of a win-win situation. Once you reach level 50, you can take on this quest here, Inscrutable Tastes, given to you by this individual here. This will unlock the ability to start working with collectibles, both for crafting and for gathering. Make sure you do this because collectibles are a big part of leveling your Disciples of the Land and your Disciples of the Hand. Talking to any collectible appraiser, like this one here, will allow you to take on certain collectible missions. Well, I call them missions, but they're not even really all that difficult. What we're looking at here is various items that can be collected and turned in for both purple, or at higher levels, orange gathering scripts. Much like crafting scripts, these are very important for buying later game materials, extra manuals, even some extra equipment at higher levels to help you move along with your crafting and gathering in general. In this case, we're just going to take on this particular mission here. We can actually just right-click any of the items on this menu and search for them by gathering method. Once you arrive at the spot that you're going to gather your collectible from, things are going to look a little bit different. As you can see here, there is still the possibility for a location effect, but things look a little bit different than your normal gathering menu. This is because you're trying to increase the collectability level and not just trying to gather the item itself. You're also going to notice that you have a different set of abilities for gathering collectibles than you do for gathering normal. When you look at the collectability rating, you're seeing a 400, 700, and 1000 in this particular instance, and just like when crafting, your blue is kind of your bare minimum, your orange is an acceptable parameter, and the green is what you're trying to aim for, getting as close to that maximum collectability as is possible. When you're turning in collectibles from a collectible appraiser quest, you're going to notice that there is a specific breakpoint that they're looking for. You're going to notice the amount of collectability an item has will yield a better result. So the closer you are to that 1000, the more experience and currency you're going to get from turning it in. So let's go over what these abilities are and how to use them. Most of these are gained at level 50. Starting naturally, we have Collect. This allows you to gather a collectible item in its current collectability rating, and this reduces the item's integrity by 1. Scour increases the collectability of an item, and it's determined by your gathering rating. This reduces integrity by 1 as well. If you look here, you can actually see the collectability bar shifting ever so slightly. This is the collectability increase that is being given by Scour. If you look at the bottom of the abilities here, you can actually see the values at which they are increasing by. In this instance, Brazen Inspector has an either 50% or 150% effectiveness of Scour, and kind of anywhere in between. Meticulous Prospector has only 75% of the effectiveness of Scour, but it does have a chance of not reducing your integrity at all. What is that chance? That can be seen right here in this little icon next to it. Scrutiny improves the next collectability increase by any of your increases from Scour to Brazen Prospector to Meticulous Prospector. Scrutiny will increase it, but it does cost 200 gathering points. Collector's Focus, gained at level 85, increases your chance to trigger Collector's Intuition by 75% on your next collectible action. Your Intuition rate is your chance to gain a bonus to the collectability based on your perception rating. As you can see right now, I have a 40% chance of triggering Intuition. Priming Touch doubles the chance that your next Meticulous Prospector will not affect integrity. This does not affect the increased chance from gathering points or bonuses on Collector's High Standard. Collector's Standard is the effectiveness of Brazen and Meticulous actions being increased. So, let's say I want to increase the collectability of this item, but I'm worried about the integrity. We can actually make use of Scrutiny and Collector's Focus. Now we have a 70% chance of Intuition happening, and we can use Meticulous Prospector. And as you see here, we did still lose a bit of integrity, despite our best efforts. So what are we to do? Well, we still have 527 gathering points left, so we can use both Scrutiny and Collector's Focus again, and if we so desire, we can also add Priming Touch on top of it. As you can see, we now have a 50% chance of not using up any of our integrity. And now we actually managed to land on a full 1000 collectability. In this case, we can actually collect this item twice at its full collectability. But what do you do if you have no collectability or no gathering points left? Is it still worth gathering an item that is a collectible if you can't get it to 1000? Well, we're going to look at that right now. In this instance, we're only going to raise our collectability up to the blue line here. Okay, we went a little past blue, but we're not at the yellow line. But we're still going to collect here. And now I'll see you back in Gridania. So, now that we are back in Gridania, and we're talking to our collectibles appraiser, we can see that the different collectability rating of each of the items yields a slightly different reward. Because I'm so much higher level than this particular collectible mission, the experience is not going to change, but the amount of purple scripts that we can get from it actually will. If we look at a higher level one, for example, the rarefied Rakaznar ore, excuse my pronunciation, At the different collectability levels, we'll give different yields of experience, 696,000, 1.04 million, and 1.71 million, respectively. Now, turning in 3 collectibles at 600 will yield more experience than turning in 1 collectible at 1000. So this is going to be kind of a balancing act that you're going to have to figure out how you want to handle on your own, but in terms of collectability, unless you're doing a quest that specifically requires a specific collectability rating, you can see that it is totally fine to just kind of do the bare minimum for these particular turn-ins. So as you've seen, gathering is actually quite a bit simpler than crafting is. Not only is it easier to collect the items that you're looking to gather, but even the collectibles themselves are quite a bit easier to collect, and the turn-ins are pretty advantageous for you. All of this means that gathering is a pretty solid thing to be trying to do, especially if you're trying to actually level your crafters to begin with. There isn't a whole lot to explain, but a couple of tips that can help you on a little bit further: keeping things like cordials and high cordials in your inventory, making use of food buffs that increase your gathering points as well as either your perception or your gathering, whichever is lower, and keeping your equipment up to date are all very important things to do. Of course, also having the correct materia in your equipment can help a lot, but this is just a beginner's tip video, so we're not going to get into all of that. Gathering is extremely useful, and I hope you start making use of it. But because it's not a particularly difficult thing to do, I have full faith that you'll be able to rise to the top of gatherers in no time at all. I hope this was a little bit helpful, and I hope to see you next time. Have a great time, everyone. Bye-bye.